Hey guys, 3-Bit Gamer Show recording here from the floor of the Salt Lake Comic-Con. Thanks for tuning in to our special coverage. We're sitting down with Steven Crowe of Quest Forged Arena fame to chat art, tabletop games, and why Comic-Con is the greatest. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
Spencer here.
I'm Crowe.
And we are your hosts for this special episode.
Very nice.
So, Spencer, why don't you lead us off?
So, we're here at Salt Lake Comic-Con, the big one, the big show. Super excited to kind of get down.
It's the second biggest in the country, right?
It really is. I mean, don't tell San Diego, right? But here we come, lawsuits and all, and we're really excited to get
up. Was that settled? Was that lawsuits?
I mean, they're still working on it. I think it's just it's a naming deal, right? But in terms of people, it is just packed, right? Wall-to-wall people and stuff like that. And we have with us, in my humble opinion, my favorite artist I've seen at any of these shows, and he's been in a few of them, so Mr. Steven Crowe. Really excited to have him on. We had seen him at the FanX here in March, so that's Comic-Con's little brother. And then he was also at the Gaming Con that we did our show back in July.
They should call it the Salt Lake Conic Com.
Why?
You're fired.
Well, if it's a naming thing,
yeah,
right?
Nope.
If it's a naming right,
get him out of here.
You just swap two letters.
Wah, wah.
It's like when you go to In-N-Out and you order aminal fries, and they're like, what? Aminal fries.
No one does that.
Yeah.
You swap your M's and your N's.
Okay, let's talk to Steven, because I'm sick of talking to JD already.
We'll put the kid leasher on JD on this one and reel him back in a little bit.
Steven gets it.
The system.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. What do you call it? Ice cream?
Okay, no. Shut up.
Yeah,
all right, so Steven, we've talked about Steven before. I did a play test of his game Quest Forged Arena. Spencer is a whale for his art and just can't stop throwing money at this guy. So, Steven, I want to ask you a question. How, as an artist, first, how did you get into doing these character pieces?
Well, at first, man, it started with me trying to go to cons. I approached an independent comic book company, and I was like, hey, can I join you guys? And I think I was like 22. And no, man, you're not good enough.
Are you serious? That's what they said?
Yeah, like, because the editor at the time, he was like such a jerk.
That's your art isn't good. Like, how is that even an approvable metric?
Bad.
Oh, you should have seen it, though. He wasn't wrong. Like, I don't disagree with him, but I was, like, super stubborn. I was like, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. So I did, like, this comic book that I colored with a mouse on my computer. And it was interesting, man, because I sent it to him. I got the editor's address, and I sent it to him. And the book was terrible. There was, like, editing flaws everywhere. Letters were going off the page. But what it did was they saw that I just wasn't going to quit, and then they invited me to a con, and I had no idea what I was doing. I thought comic books sold at Comic Cons. That's
logically.
Yeah. So then
twice a year.
Yeah, seriously. So I went and I lost a grip of money, and then they just saw that I was like super eager to keep trying, and so then they invited me to a bunch of shows, and eventually I got into that studio, and I started kind of like lessening how much money I was losing until I started making money on it, and it was like
Dude, that's awesome.
a slow process.
Well, so how did your art change throughout this process? Because, I mean, it's very good, right? Steven does all these characters from video games and comic books and movies and TV shows and all these things, and they're awesome, and your booth is always busy. You've got a huge portfolio. How did your art change throughout this process?
I think, like, the thing is that I always try and push and change it. I never liked drawing chibi when I first started. I was like, I want to learn how to color. I had no idea what I was doing.
Chibi?
It's kind of like that cute, big-headed characters, like kind of like the Funko Pops and all that jazz.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just did it because I could draw them really quick. And then my sister had her kids, and I was like, no, they can see this art, and I'm stoked on it. So I kind of just kept running with it. And yeah, I mean, it went from super aggressive, it was like always like this dark, bloody, gory stuff, to being kind of like cute and chibi, and now I'm kind of moving into more of like a middle ground where it's like an animated feel, but it's still got like an aggressiveness to it.
And I think that's kind of the sweet spot in terms of, I think where Spencer and I are at, what attracts us to your booth at one of these cons and your art style. You know, you can definitely tell who the character is. It's not super cute, but it's not like... it's not super mean. Like, I could hang it on my wall and my kids could look at it and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Kind of in the Overwatch vein, right? Like, that's
yeah,
what I'm hoping.
Exactly.
Like,
no, that's perfect. That's a perfect comparison. And so, getting into these cons, I mean, you're at all the cons now, right? You're doing all of them. How has that been for you?
You know, I actually left my day job 3 years ago this month after Salt Lake Comic-Con was like really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I used to work at a grocery store stocking shelves, and I hated it.
That's going to be the best origin story ever, though. Well, what did you do before you were a famous artist? Stocking grocery shelves, you know, doing the thing.
Yeah.
He's just like us.
Yeah.
Seriously, and like that's the thing is like you can totally just kind of like do it on your own. You just got to figure out the market, right?
Right.
So. Yeah, like I can't remember what the question was, but
in terms of coming to these different conventions and stuff like that, how is the process to kind of get your foot in the door, and how is being here, interacting with fans, kind of changed your art style and changed what you do? You mentioned drawing characters that are kind of popular for the masses. How do you judge that market?
Some of it is kind of like you look at what's coming out, right? Like I've got Hulk from Ragnarok coming up.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Then the other thing is like you just draw certain characters that you like really care about, and you almost hope, and you hope that everybody's gonna like it. Like the Lord of the Rings ones this weekend, right? Lord of the Rings isn't super huge right now. There's nothing going on for it, but I just drew with all the passion that I have for Aragorn and all those characters because they're some of my favorites, and you hope that it's going to work.
That's awesome.
But it's kind of like a crapshoot sometimes. Like you have no idea what's going to sell.
What's going to sell?
That's what I've noticed. What I came to this on Thursday, and going through Artist Alley was like the coolest thing because, like you said, you see the trends. Like you see, like I saw a lot of Pickle Ricks. That Pickle Rick has existed like in the public's eye for like less than a month, right? But these artists were like you said, like this is what's hot right now. This is what people are going to buy, and so tons of people are cranking out really, really fresh stuff. And what is it like? Is it for me? Because I feel like I'm not great at anything I do. Mm-hmm. So is it like intimidating being in Artist Alley? Like some people are like way better than the others, and some of them are just like have this amazing art. What's it like being in such a narrow space like that?
I know when I started, like I was always like, oh, this is gonna be the worst because I literally my first booth was right behind J. Scott Campbell, like the curtain was between us. And it was like, if you're going to start out next to that guy, it's like, cool, well, the next neighbor's not going to be as bad as J. Scott Campbell, right? Like, because that guy's such a monster. But, I don't know, I think, like, I'm really open with my process and with everybody, and they're always like, why are you so cool with showing everybody? And it's like, because what I do, nobody else is going to do better than that in terms of what I'm doing.
Dude, I love that.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. But I'm not going to outdo, like, my neighbor now. He draws super animated because he was an animator, you know, but the way he thinks about stuff and draws his shapes are going to be completely different. So, I don't know. I don't really compare too much, even if I'm like, okay, that artist has definitely got technically better skill than I do, or even, like, a cooler style. It's all subjective in the first place. And secondly, it's all, like, it's just... Who likes what, you know?
What's it like among the artists on the artist row there? You like see somebody's booth who's super busy, and you're like, dude, I can draw better than that guy.
You get like a little bitter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at them buying all that shit art. Like, how much Rick and Morty crap do you need?
Yeah, there's only been one time that I was really irritated, and I don't want to put the person on blast, but they draw like stick figures, and they've got a massive following, and they made more money that weekend than the entire row beside them. And I was like, God damn it. Like, this dude isn't
I'm going back to stick figures. Fuck all this.
Yeah, it's like, this guy's not even trying. I actually entered an art contest once, and I took second place to a guy who had stick figures.
Dude, get out of here.
And it was for that Darksiders game. And you were going to win a cloth map signed by Joe Madden. I was like, that'd be amazing. He's like my absolute favorite artist. The stick figure guy beat me, and I saved that. I've still got it on my computer, and it's saved as even the worst art with the right idea can win.
Oh,
dude, that's awesome. Perfect chip on your shoulder story, too. I love that. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's not necessarily like the chip on the shoulder, because I hate the idea of, like, I'm going to do it to prove somebody wrong, you know? But
Fair
it's like,
point.
It's just like, make sure that your ideas are sound, and then, like, the execution will come, even if it's not necessarily the best.
In terms of your art evolution and seeing your catalog, I think that plays through, right? Like, seeing your iterative take and how you've evolved as an artist is something, when you just flip through those pages, it's like, oh man, look at all these characters, and you inject yourself into there. And so that's, talking about your process for me is just such a cool thing to see that. Again, not like JD, I am good at some things, but I'm the world's worst artist, so basically your art is like a superpower for me. It just is so cool. So, quick question in terms of being on the Artist Road to finish up with Peterson. What is the piece that has surprised you the most in terms of sales, and what is a piece that you thought was going to be great but just ended up bombing?
So I think there's like a little bit of a tie in the ones that surprised me. I've got this chibi Deadpool with just some blood splatter behind him, and he kind of looks happy. The first, 3 Comic Cons, I would sell out of that guy nonstop. And I just did it for fun. I was just kind of farting around one day.
People at Comic-Con have an obsession with Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Well, in Salt Lake especially, because I've traveled and done a bunch of cons, and Salt Lake especially has just a love of Deadpool. He sells better here than anywhere else for me.
That's surprising. Super
Yeah.
weird. You see all those GIFs and videos that emerge out of Comic-Con, and so it's 5 Deadpools just goofing around being weird.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's a Lady Sylvanas I did last year. And I just did it for fun. I was excited about the Legion expansion. I was like, this is going to be amazing. So I just drew Lady Sylvanas because I love her. And I remember we sold out the first day, so we reprinted. Sold out the second day, and I was lucky enough to get a reprint because it sold out early enough. So I reprinted again, sold out again on Saturday.
Wow.
Nice.
So yeah, those are the 2 surprises in terms of I didn't expect these to be huge. And then there's been a bunch that just don't move that you think are going to be really big. I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff was going to kill it for a long time.
Oh yeah, Baby Groot and stuff.
Baby Groot's the only one that still moves. Everybody else, if Guardians isn't within a month and a half of it coming out, or just it came out, it doesn't go anywhere.
Wow.
The Guardians fans, I think they kind of forget about Guardians.
Forget they love it.
Bunch of fair weather idiots. Open up your wallets, folks.
Unless it's Groot. Groot, everybody's always nah, Groot's amazing.
Love Groot.
Gotta have
So I want to change pace really quick. We got a couple more minutes here. I want you to just talk about some of your game, because we've talked about Quest Forged Arena on the show. I talked about my playthrough and what kind of game it was. It's kind of like a MOBA-ish type of board game. So how's the game going, first of all? How's it going? And what's the feedback you've received throughout the process?
Man, for one, the feedback has been awesome. People always kind of play it, and then they're like, okay, I want to play another game. I remember the first time we showed it was at a little local con that was for Blizzard fans. And one guy played it 8 times.
Nice.
That weekend.
Straight through?
No, he just kept coming back.
Oh, dude, that's even better.
Yeah,
right?
and the last thing he said to me was the worst thing about leaving this con this weekend is I don't get to play this game until you guys come out with
That's
the Kickstarter.
so
Nice.
cool.
That's gotta feel good.
One
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, well, and I mean, because I've worked on these characters for 16 years, it wasn't always a board game idea. It's a book, and there's lore and a ton of stuff behind it. So seeing people play it is the coolest feeling ever, and getting excited about those characters. But in terms of where it's at, and we're kind of on a little bit of a slow point, just because I was getting ready for the con, and I've been teaching a college class, so I didn't fully step away. I've still been working on stuff. It's just not as fast as it was going for a minute. Next week I go back, and we're going to do some mechanics reworks. I've got a few changes in the pipeline that are going to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to balance some characters out, but honestly, that's really where it's at. It's just balancing. But because of not necessarily understanding the Kickstarter business aspect, we had to delay the Kickstarter because we were going to go live actually this week. We were supposed to go live on Tuesday, and we're going to push it to next year because of the tax season and then not understanding the business. So early next year.
Cool. We're super excited to have you back on when we get closer to that launch. We've got to see how it's going to go and get that pure crossover between tabletop and the video space.
And we got to let you go because it sounds like you just print money, and you're literally losing money sitting here with us.
Yes. So last thing, how can people find you on social media and that sort of thing? Websites, what do you have? So if you go to facebook.com/QuestForgedArena, you can find that stuff there, or go to Instagram.com @CrowesToons, CrowesToons. And yeah, that's where I post all my art. So. Awesome.
Thanks so much to Steven Crowe. Make sure to check it out. It's Quest Forged Arena. Forged is past tense. We say it so fast that, I keep forgetting. Thanks again for listening. We've got a couple more that we're going to be doing, so make sure to tune into all of our Comic-Con content. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dude. That was fun.